topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Laws of Empowering Entrepreneurs. I am your host, Blanca, and the founder of the Laws of Life Television Network. And this is my esteemed co-host, Mr. Natan Verkovsky, the founder of the Essential Academy. How are you this morning, Natan?
Wonderful, Blanca. How are you doing, my dear?
I am doing amazing. I always love starting off our Thursday morning with the Empowering Entrepreneurs. So and we had an amazing networking event this week with the Essential Academy.
That was fun.
And just to kick it off, why don't you just tell everybody what the Essential Academy is and where people can learn more information about it?
Absolutely. The Essential Academy is a place that's a sacred place for transformation. It's a not-for-profit. It's built for healers, coaches, therapists, and experts from around the world. It's a private, invitation-only, by referral-only educational community.
Amazing. So what is the benefit of the invitation-only model as you see it?
When you look at something that anyone can buy their way into, compared to things that people have to earn and be validated by peer review, that they're categorically recognized. Like in boxing, they have, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. That's nice. So those are the kinds of things that make it easier, that when you're looking at differentiating yourself, if you start with the big ones, we're not for profit. We're going for international accreditation to get K-12 and post-secondary non-granting degree status for institutions. Very few people that I go to a breakout room at a networking event seem to be going down that path. So we're trying to go differently.
That's amazing. And I the opportunities that you have opened up to me have been, really revolutionary. And the quality of the people, I'm proud to say I'm an instructor in the Essential Academy.
Glad to have you.
The people that I'm meeting are just unbelievable. So Natan, if somebody wants to be considered to be part of the Essential Academy platform, how would they go about that?
Since it's invitation only or by referral only, Blanca would have to formally extend an invitation right now to everybody. Everybody whose head and heart are in the right place. Everybody who's in alignment with truth. Everybody who identifies at least as a first degree black belt online and knows what they're doing and can help others. Everyone who's here to serve and to teach and not just to sell something. Those are the people that we would love to say hello to.
Exactly, to serve and to teach. And there's going to be a lot of extensive opportunities for you. And I think that's why our platforms are so compatible, because many people in the Laws of Life platform have quote unquote laws of life, their niche. And just to remind everyone, Natan is our judge next Tuesday from 11 to 12:30. Along with Mark Siegel and Tony Kaufman that Natan brought as a guest. You will have 1 minute to speak on your laws of ... What is your niche? How can you recap that in 60 seconds? And everyone's 1 minute will be placed on the Laws of Life Roku channel under the networking category so that people can get to know you and refer back to that video. And I encourage everyone to please subscribe to the Laws of Life Roku channel, and I will put my link tree in the scroller below too, so you can see all of our links for the platform. So, without further ado, Natan, who is our empowering entrepreneur today?
It's wonderful, Blanca. As we've started this off a little while ago, and we're closing out the number of wonderful people that we want to introduce for this season,
Mhm.
so that we can wrap this season up and then begin an entire new group of episodes with new entrepreneurs. I want to make sure that we have a little segment in the front telling us who we're going to meet this season, a little segment in the back of wow, holy moly, and guess what's happening next time? Because if we end up the season with somebody as impressive as somebody like Jay Fairbrother, it'll be a cherry on the icing cake. Jay
Wow.
comes from a serial entrepreneurial background for more than 30 years. Business, he's the coach's coach. He's focused on profits. He's executive vice president of chapters, the global leadership organization, Globe. He's a principal and coach at the Profit Architects. He's the global vice president of chapters chairs and the Pittsburgh chapter chair at Global Leadership Organization for the Globe. So, in that capacity, what he's able to do is recruit chairs and start chapters all over the world. That means that if in your city you don't have a chair of this, you need to reach out to Jay so that you can be that leader locally and internationally. There's something else that he has that comes up that I'm going to talk about when we get to introduce him. But he is just a perfect example of entrepreneurs get better at what they do in order to help other entrepreneurs and just keep that beautiful cycle going.
Okay, well, without further ado, let's bring Jay Fairbrother to the stage. Good morning, Jay. How are you today?
Good morning, guys. Pleasure to be here. Excited.
Oh, so happy to have you. So my first question out of the box is the Profit Architects. What was your philosophy behind that title?
Great question. So this is born from my own experience, and most entrepreneurs go through this cycle, which is when I started my first business. And like most entrepreneurs, it's all about growth, more leads, more clients, more revenue, which brings more headaches, more problems, more overhead. And often entrepreneurs get stuck there while their business might be growing. They're not that profitable. And in my case, my first company, I grew it to 50 employees, and my ego was pretty big at that point. I grew it to 5 million in sales. I kind of thought I was a hot shot, and I still wasn't making much money. I was barely making six figures, hadn't had a vacation in 5 years.
That's a lot of stress for that result.
There's revenue and then there's profit, as his name indicates.
So that was the triggering chapter.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very common for entrepreneurs to get into that, what I call the growth rut.
Yeah.
And there's you can start with mindset, and some people just have issues around profitability and making money, and that's an important thing to get beyond, to say, hey, it's okay to actually make money. We're still serving as entrepreneurs. We're still trying to make the world a better place, but it's okay to have profits, because without profits, not much else happens. And I always say, it doesn't matter what you do with your profits. I do an exercise with my clients called the Profit Why, which is kind of, a spin-off of Simon Sinek and the Find Your Why. But I focus it on profits, because whether you take those profits and finally take that vacation you haven't had in 5 years, or you take those profits and donate it, or you put them in your pocket, or you just reinvest them into your business so that you can continue to grow, what you do with those profits isn't as important as understanding why you want them, and focus and starting to focus on how do you create more profit in your business.
You can't create those unless you figured out that why. That's beautiful.
So you really think that the why of the profit is what may manifest the right amount of profit? If the why is not fixed, the whole formula could be off?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, the first thing to address is that mindset, right? That because so many people sort of get hung up on that of, well, I don't want to increase my prices because I might, lose clients, or I don't want to increase my prices because I don't want to overcharge people or take advantage of people, those kinds of things. So the first step is to kind of get your mindset around why you want profits and then what you're going to do with them once you create them.
Interesting. So what is the right mindset to have? Because a lot of things go through my mind. I mean, the why behind profit could be because I like money. I like to buy pretty things. My children have, my 20-year-old daughter has a really expensive taste. Okay. And I wish I was kidding. I mean, I've actually, because of the journey that I've been on, and everybody knows my story, like material items, I mean, yes, it's great to be beautiful. Health, inner health is the most important thing. Inner health, the ability to exercise. I mean, walking is free. That is, to me, the best activity in life. There's a couple others that are free too, that are pretty good too, but walking doesn't cost you anything. Why isn't everybody walking an hour a day? What's the excuse? Unless there's a disability. But what I'm trying to say is that after the journey I've been on, materialistic items are not my why. They used to be. And when they used to be, it actually maybe it did cause the destruction of the model, because my entire mindset is different now. My why is I want to make sure my children are provided for. I want to make sure I can help all these amazing nonprofits that I'm meeting every day and make a donation whenever I feel like it. Or if I want to get on a plane and go to Africa, freedom and flexibility. So what's your why, Jay and Natan? Talk to me.
Well, for me, my why, it's very similar to what you just described. In that example of me building my first company, I was a conqueror, right? I wanted to have the biggest company I could, and it was wrapped into my ego and that kind of thing. And to finally make that transition to say, okay, wait a minute, let's focus on margins and actually creating profit, which enables all of those other things, whether they're materialistic or not. That's the first step, is to get beyond that sort of ego part and look at and get comfortable with your profit why, so to speak.
I love it. What's your why, Natan?
I look at it in an interesting way, because we're a not-for-profit. So I'm trying to empower other not-for-profits and nonprofits and people that play in that realm to get it out of their head that you're not supposed to make money. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't be a broke philanthropist. So if I have the ability to convince people to give me millions of dollars and hold it in trust as a conduit until it transcends through me and we can find these people, these millions of people that this can help, what a blessing.
Wow. That's
so
beautiful.
It's a different why. I need as much profit as I can get. I can wake up in the morning, look you straight in the eye and say, we need $6 million right now, girl. And you can't look at me like, are you trying to buy a shiny red car? No, I'm really not. We're trying to impact this. And that's, if I want to share, and I know this is out of turn, and normally we'll talk later in this interview about, why Jay came to join us and stuff like that. But I can tell you up front right now, for the people that are here, that are listening, that are getting the benefit, one of the reasons that I fell in love with Jay, and I wouldn't have invited him into our private community if I didn't, because ask yourself this. I mean, it's private, it's invitation only, it's by referral only. It's already got everybody who's MBAs and PhDs and just, 6+ dozen of the most incredible people. Okay, why that other element? Why the heck did I pay all the time and money and energy to go get the not-for-profits? Not needed. Could have just gone this way and become one of the most expensive, exclusive areas, the same way that Udemy and Lynda.com just cater to the lowest common denominators. I could cater to the top people. Nope. That is not going to help. And in something that's very specific to Jay, this is what I wanted to really bring to the attention. He derives his why from reinventing himself and committing to helping other entrepreneurs avoid his failures, his mistakes, his lessons that he's learned. His mission over the next decade is to create $10 million in additional profits by helping 100 entrepreneurs through his $100,000 profit program.
Oh, I love that goal. That's a beautiful, beautiful goal. So your goal is to help basically 100 entrepreneurs make 100,000. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So my $100,000 profit program is geared towards 7-figure entrepreneurs. And what I am doing with that program is guaranteeing $100,000 in profit above and beyond our fees when we engage with someone in that program. Yeah, and that's, again, it's based on this concept of, if you're in that growth rut, your business might be growing, but you're not really creating profit. There's so many different ways to look and help a business owner. In fact, when I sit down with them, we go through like 40 some areas of the business, and the basic approach we use is that we'll just, we do a deep dive. We go through all those areas. Are you doing this? No, add it to the list. Are you doing this? Yes, but not well. Add it to the list. Are you doing this? Yeah, we're doing it, and I think we're doing it fairly well. Okay, keep it off the list. What we hope to do at the end of that deep dive is come up with 10 or 12 areas that we can focus on that say, let's work on these areas, and then take those 10 and 12 and rank them for least cost and effort and most impact, put them on a list, put them on a timeline, and that becomes the blueprint that we use to coach the entrepreneur and work with them on creating more profit.
Jay, do they have to wrap their head around the fact that, you could be at the level of skill that you've got the email list, you've got, all of the little search engines, you got the teams, you got the this, you got the that, you got everything in place. You've been online for a while, you're making stuff, and here you are putting on an event, and now you're producing it, and you're rolling your hair because it's a crazy event. And at the end of the day, the event revenue is $100,000, and you're thinking to yourself like a crazy person, holy crap, I just made $100,000, and you, my friend, get $12. You did not get 100,000. You get $12. That's it. Because you don't understand how this works. You don't know what the mechanisms to make this more profitable are. You haven't identified in the funnel where all the holes are and what's costing you and what's bleeding and what's just you keep putting money into and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a lot of work with sales coaching as well and sales training, and I use that exact term, is that often your funnel is leaking. So when you finally get them to the bottom of the funnel, when it's time for a sales call, most people are so focused on all the statistics and results of the top of the funnel and getting them through the funnel that few people pay attention to that bottom part, which is what is your conversion rate when it gets into an actual sales conversation, and what are you losing at that point? And the reason that's relevant to what we were just talking about is that's pure profit.
Yeah.
In other words, you've already created all the expense, time, and effort to get them through your funnel, to get them to that final stage where you're trying to convert them into a client or customer. Yes. And if you lose them at that point, let's reverse it. If you gain them at that point, that's pretty much pure profit minus your cost of goods to deliver whatever you're doing.
And it's so important that people understand, if you don't measure it, people, how on earth are you going to manage it?
That's right. You got to know your numbers. Yeah. All right. Well, this, as you can see, this conversation is already starting to get on fire. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to thank our diamond sponsor, personal injury attorney Tim Marecki, has been our sponsor in a ton for 3 years of the law.
Awesome.
So God forbid, I hope you're driving safely. But if you or your friends or family do have a car accident and you need an attorney to give you advice in the state of Florida, consider Tim Marecki. Let's take a look at his message. So we are back at the Laws of Empowering Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Blanca, the founder of the Laws of Life platform, along with Natan Makovsky, the founder of the Essential Academy platform. And our guest of honor today is Jay Fairbrother, the Profit Architects. And we're talking about a program that Jay offers for a guarantee, is it, Jay, of 100,000 net profit? What happens if they don't net 100 G's? What happens then?
Then we just keep working with them until they're satisfied that they do. In other words, we'll work for free if at the end of the arrangement we haven't, created that profit. Then we'll just keep working with you until we do.
So basically, you are one of the rare satisfaction guaranteed coaches.
I like that.
Yeah, and in fact, there's a lot of people that I can't offer that $100,000 guarantee to because perhaps they just don't have the revenues yet.
Qualified.
Yeah, they're not there yet. So when we engage with any business as a business coach, we'll at least guarantee a profit break even. So again, if you haven't, not in revenue, but if you haven't at least profited what you've paid us during the engagement, whether that's 3 months or 6 months, whatever it is, then again, we'll keep working with you until you do. Because again, if I can't satisfy the person I'm working with, then why am I even here in the first place? What value am I providing?
Good point.
Well, that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in this entrepreneurial chapter. I didn't realize it. I was always an entrepreneur, but let me take that back. Let's take a step back. Jay, what is the definition of an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. So an entrepreneur is in my mind is someone who wants to try is the operative word, to take control of their own destiny, to be not responsible to anyone but themselves and their stakeholders, employees, customers, their family and everyone else they're responsible to. But they want to step into that spotlight and say, I'm willing to take charge, take the lead, and try to create something. Most entrepreneurs, not all, but most, and certainly the reason I think the three of us are all here is that we want to serve. We want to do something to make the world a better place, to help others, to create value in the world. What's our why? And for me, my why is now, because I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years, the Profit Architects is my 9th business. And if you just do that math, you can quickly figure out that I've failed miserably. I've had some good successes, but I've failed miserably. That's part of the whole package. So, my why is to try to help other entrepreneurs grow their businesses. And that's what I do all day long, whether it's with my coaching or with Global Leaders Organization. That's what I do.
No, you make a couple of good points. And the point I was initially going to make was that not every client is the right fit client. Yeah. I've had clients that pay me a boatload of money, but they're so candidly unappreciative and disrespectful. I don't even want to be in their company. And for me, respect is everything. If someone doesn't have respect, kindness, and professionalism, it's a non-starter. I don't care if they write me a check for $1 million. I will no longer sacrifice my soul for money. That will never happen again. Okay. But I sacrificed my health, my balance, my mindset, my energy, and my listening. When somebody offends you, they offend you. Now, maybe you have to look at the root cause of why so here's my question for you, Jay. What happens? Who's a good fit for your program? Obviously, they have to have the fundamental qualities of kindness and professionalism. But are you going to be looking at their tax returns to see if they made at least $50,000 in order to get to a net profit of 100? Are you going to look? What if they made 200? I watch Shark Tank all the time. There was a company last night that made $5 million, and their net profit was negative $1 million. Right. So what is the metric you utilize to accept applicants?
It's not an exact science. It's a judgment call. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has to do with the mindset of the entrepreneur more than it has to do with their financials. Right. to flip the scenario, I get a lot of people who, when they look at my $100,000 profit program, which is a great hook to get someone's attention, but they say, they'll say to me, $100,000 of profit, like that's one new project for us. That's not $100,000 in profit isn't enough to get me out of bed, and that's fair, because for some companies, depending on where you are in the journey, that can be appropriate. Yeah. So, and in those types of situations, if they bring us on board, our goal is a lot more than $100,000 in profit. But it all circles back to, to answer the question of who's a good fit, is the entrepreneur, is the entrepreneur willing to make some changes? And, it's a cliche, but to start working on their business instead of in it, and really take at least a couple of hours a week to focus on changing some things and working on the strategy. And a great example of that is with who you work with as clients, right? When I started my first company, in the beginning, we accepted any client willing to pay us, because we're trying to cover.
That's entrepreneurial error 101. We've all made that rookie mistake.
Hold on. Let me ask, is that an error, or is that the only reason that you're still here today? Because if you didn't take those first initial people, even when you quote unquote shouldn't, and now you categorically wouldn't, if you didn't, you wouldn't be here.
What do you think, Jay? Is it necessary to make that mistake, or could you avoid that mistake altogether and grow faster?
Fingers crossed.
That's a great question. And this will sound like a cop-out, but the answer is both.
It's true. It is.
Yeah. I mean, there are situations, look, if you have payroll to meet and you have overhead and rent to meet, and you have a client that doesn't exactly fit the perfect mold, and you need to bring them on to take care of the rest of your stakeholders, that's legitimate. And then the bigger challenge, because most entrepreneurs do fall into that at some point, is how do you get rid of them? In other words, and that ties into the pricing question, is that if people will say, well, let's raise your prices, and they say, well, I'll lose clients. Well, the first exercise we want to do is look at who are the likely clients you're going to lose, and are they what I call PETA clients? And I won't give you the full definition of PETA to keep it
familiar.
I saw the smile. You get it.
Yeah.
I have found that today's age of technology has created everyone, essentially. I mean, I don't want to insult everyone. Okay. That's not my intention, but because we live in this very fast-paced digital society, there is this automatic expectation that we need to respond to a text in 3 seconds, the email in 10 seconds, the voicemail in 20 seconds, the Calendly link in 19 seconds. And if you don't do that, people are so I have the fictitious island rule, which is I do try to pretend I'm on a fictitious island. And if I offend someone, I will be thrown into the sea of sharks. So I try to extend an abundance of customer service. I would say, excessively accommodating, infinitely flexible, but I've also learned you do have to have boundaries. And so I think, yes, you do have to keep the difficult client, but I think there's nothing wrong with talking to the client and expressing in a positive tonality. This is clutch. You can't be negative. It's got to be very positive. The boundaries of what the client may be doing that's bothering you. Because if you don't express the block, it could lead to a much bigger explosion later, including that client suing you for lack of dissatisfaction. So what do you think about that, Jay?
Yeah, I think that so there's two different things. There's the clients who are a pain in the butt and difficult to work with, that you want to have those kinds of conversations with and set your boundaries and sort of try to create a path to make it more manageable. Mm-hmm. The other side, which I think is probably more common, is just that, like I'll give you an example from my first business, is we started working with, it was a fundraising business, and we started with a lot of local nonprofits and then regional, and then we started in the national game. And at a certain point, it was no longer profitable for us to work with the small local regional clients. And those were very tough conversations to have with some of them who had become very close with us and depended on what we were doing to raise money for them. And, there's lots of things that you can do, though, to help with that transition, including, and what I did back then is I actually recommended a competitor that might be more suited to working with them in the future. So I tried to create almost a handoff to say, look, we're not just going to completely walk away. Here's a couple of people that we would recommend that are better suited for you. We'll even help you make the transition. So there's ways that you can do that to kind of mitigate those difficult transitions.
Yeah,
All right, amazing.
Blanca, it's important to have that, because if you look at the capacity to offload clients that you do not want, and still, like, the definition of tact is make a point without making an enemy.
Oof.
So to go, maybe I could be a better service to you if I just simply referred this person who's, like, right now categorically in alignment with what you're looking to do. I may not be. The same way that I would reverse that sentence and be like, hey, here's what we do, and you don't seem to be in alignment with what we do, and maybe one day you will be. Give me a shout back. So whatever side you're on, if you can do it that way and delicately, it might make a difference. That's one of the things that really, really made me happy when I was looking at Jay. Before I came into the space that I'm at and what I'm doing and where I get to play, it was the clarity of finding out, okay, here's the message, here's who we're looking for. And that clarity only came from self-imposed discipline. So one of the things that I resonated with Jay was so clearly when he said, I need to raise $10 million because that implies that I helped 100 people reach $100,000, and that's beautiful. And then I went back and went, why is that number so familiar to me? I'm like, oh, I know. Because that word at the top of the page is clarity. And it just says I make $100 million, $10 million a year. It's like I was in trouble at school and you have to write notes, right? Well, I wrote a hell of a lot of notes. This is one of 10 stacks that I woke up every day and wrote my $1 million mindset affirmations. Years before this happened, so that I could get into the vibrational resonance that is of abundance, so that I can attract the abundance that I need to my mind. So that Ted called us and said, hey, have you heard of the Audacious Project? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, if you want to reach millions and you're a not-for-profit, well, you probably need millions. Let's help you. I'm like, well, that would be nice. Wouldn't that be great? So in that capacity, I resonated with Jay because I did the work. You don't get to be this guy and go, I didn't do the work. Because then you talk to somebody like Jay and he goes, okay, so you skipped this part. I don't know how you fluked out. I don't know how you managed to sneaky by this part. But what's holding you back from greater growth? Here's what's holding you back from greater profit. It's the same thing that my father at Cirque du Soleil for 30 years, back when he was Olympic gymnastic coach for power tumbling and gymnastics. If you're going down the runway and your round off is sloppy, because somebody, when you learned your round off back in like grade 3, didn't correct you to make it straight, your round off back handspring, back tuck, triple back foot is going to be offline and maybe potentially crash. So when he had some of the greatest people that have ever placed in that sport, and their nicknames were Crash, he's like, that's not cool. That's not cool. Let's bring you back a minute and let's understand why the hell you crashed. And it's the fundamentals. It was literally, as embarrassing as it sounds, somebody on the Olympic caliber, world caliber stage, it was their round off. It was so off, and it wasn't a lay your hands down smooth and twist your body in a beautiful motion. It was a jump into a 180. Well, no kidding, that's going to cross your fingers every time. It looked awful. So this is where somebody like Jay comes from and can really move that needle forward. That's why he gets to come to the Essential Academy. That's why he's with us.
I love it. I love it. Well, everything, just you both are so full of so many laws of life. It's literally like my brain is on fire. And it really is a celebration of the collective expertise of all of us today. And that's what I love about this show. And let's take a quick commercial break to celebrate the Laws of Life Roku channel. This show is on the Roku along with 28 other shows. Please subscribe to the Laws of Life Roku channel. Let's take a look. Wonderful. So we are back with Jay Fairbrother, the Profit Architects, our guest of the day. And one of the questions that came to my mind, Jay, is what percentage is marketing in the formula of success?
That's a big question. So again, I don't know that there's a formula. I can tell you just from my experience that sales and marketing is often a huge portion of looking at helping an entrepreneur create more profit in their business. We don't only look at sales and marketing. We also will look at the finances and the processes and there's a scale component to getting out of that growth rut that's important, that has nothing to do with sales and marketing. But my strength, with 9 different businesses, as an entrepreneur, you wear every single hat in the business. My strength has always been sales and marketing. And so I would say my focus is probably 80-20 towards sales and marketing. But that's just because that's also my comfort zone.
That's also the only thing that matters.
Which is 80 and which is 20?
Yeah. Sales and marketing is the 80%.
So 80% sales, 80% marketing.
80% of the profit play.
I'm sorry.
Sales and marketing is 80% of the profit being created.
Most times, yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about the distinction between marketing and sales.
So marketing is a vehicle to amplify your message, one to many in most cases. Sales, while it can be one to many, is more typically one to one or one to a few. And marketing can attract people, get the right people attracted to you and whatever your product or service is, but sales is where the conversion happens. And that's one of the ways that I distinguish. And in fact, I have a program right now, which is really geared towards coaches, consultants, and solopreneurs called Skip the Marketing. And the concept with this program is that so many coaches and solopreneurs, they get out of the gate, they start to get a little traction, they get some clients. But anyone, if you are a coach or consultant, you'll know this, anyone who hangs that shingle on their online profile in any capacity gets bombarded every single day with pitches, LinkedIn messages. Pitches.
I'm a coach too. Oh my God.
Yeah. And you get pitched constantly on, you need this platform, that course, this guru, paid lead gen, paid ads, paid social media management. And it's overwhelming for most people. And that's really where, in working with hundreds of coaches, especially over the last few years, I see them get bogged down. Is they don't know which marketing things to choose, and then often they get it out of sequence. In other words, they don't have their branding and messaging right to be attracting the right people. They're blasting these marketing messages out to, they might hit some of the right people, but often they're just too spread out because they aren't dialed in terms of their branding and imaging being, exactly for the people they're trying to attract. And then on the bottom end, as we discussed earlier, their funnel is leaking because they're not good at converting people at the end. So we created this program called Skip the Marketing. And we're not saying marketing's bad, marketing's essential. But what we're saying, especially for coaches, consultants, is just put a pause on all that marketing. Stop spending money on that part of it, and let's get the foundation correct. Let's make sure that your, whatever your image and branding is, that
Your message,
your message that shows what your superpower is, that shows what you really are providing. Let's get that right, and then also focus on, because that's another, in the online coaches world, people get all they get bogged down with the typical multi-tiered sales funnel. Well, first you have to have a free lead magnet, and then you have to have a $100 program, and then you have to have a $400 program, and then finally you can get a high-end coaching client at $1,000 or more. And that's just not true. I mean, you can get high-end clients without all those tiers and without all the fancy funnels and that kind of thing. So that's what the Skip the Marketing program is about.
So what's your number one superpower, Jay Fairbrother?
If I had to choose one, it's actually helping people with their sales process. And I always say sales is 80% confidence and 20% art. Sales can never be a science. Marketing can, right? Marketing is you can measure with scientific accuracy what your results are, because it's that one-to-many, it's that amplifier. But sales is a conversation, and so it can never be a science. But the key to getting good at the 20% art is having some basic skills. And you don't need to be a super salesman. You don't need to have a master in sales knowledge to be able to be more effective at selling. But you need some basic skills, and you need that confidence boosted. I have literally trained not hundreds, but thousands of salespeople over my career. And I've seen many, many cases where salespeople who are very successful have really bad skills. They're doing so many things wrong, but their confidence is through the roof, and it makes up for a lot. So
yeah. Second time this week, we've heard the word confidence, Natan, as a key ingredient. Go on.
There's a reason. You have to hustle like it didn't happen. If you made $1 million, hustle like it didn't happen. You lost $1 million, hustle like it didn't happen. What's the matter with you? Get to work.
Yeah. And you also have to have confidence in the outcome, right? It's so when we say confidence, like I use I've used many hiring assessment tools over the years, and this one that I use currently for salespeople, one of the key measurements is optimism. And this isn't optimism toward life in general. This is measuring optimism towards your expectations of a successful outcome when you're on a sales call. And that alone is so critical. So one of the things that I give, because mostly I'm teaching sales to people with no prior sales background, and they don't want to be a salesperson, and they feel creepy about sales. Yes. One of the things I suggest is, look, just take some deep breaths before every sales call, relax, try to close your eyes, do a little meditation, imagine the outcome that you want, right? Just very simple, but anything you do to increase that confidence level just a little bit will actually have measurable results in the conversion.
All right, so give us 5 tips on how to convert a prospect to a client during the sales call.
So the first is don't show up and throw up. I talk when I'm working with coaches and consultants, I often say, look, sell like you coach. In other words, every coach or consultant knows that you would never show up at your first client meeting and talk 70% of the time. You instinctively know as a coach that you're going to, probe for their challenges and understand what the pain points are and really get them to draw that out and talk about it. When you're in a coaching session, that all comes naturally to you. You feel 100% confident doing that. But then coaches get in a selling situation and they feel like, they've got to do what I call the Charlie Brown, teacher mode.
Selling is not selling. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I help businesses, whatever comes afterwards is usually platitudes, big words, flowery language to explain what they do.
Coaches pay me to.
So are you basically trying to say they shouldn't talk too much in a sale? Get to the point?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in a typical sales call, you should only be talking 30-40% of the time. It's more about, understanding where they are and then providing some kind of a solution of how you can help.
All right. What's tip number 2?
So I would say to, focus, understand that there's 2 motivations, right? There's they want to move away from a pain or challenge, or they want to move toward a future that solves that pain or challenge. Again, using generalities, 80-20 rule, 80% of people are more motivated by moving away from pain, but some people are more motivated by moving toward that beautiful future that you can help create. It varies with every person, right? Some it's 50-50, some it's 80-20. So part of what you have to do when you're, finding out about a person and asking questions is to kind of figure out where they are in that matrix. And, I always say, don't do one or the other. You can't only talk about their challenges. You also have to create ROI. And that would be, point 2 or 3 is focus on the ROI.
So we'll go with 3 tips since we have 3 minutes left. So sales tip 3 is remind the client of the ROI that they will achieve by hiring you.
Yes. And do that in every single point of contact in the sales process. That's another mistake that people often make is they have that initial discussion where they paint that ROI of this future that they can help you create. And then they forget to remind the person of that in every single follow-up that you have in that sales process, whether, it's a 2-call sales process or even in your follow-up emails and that kind of thing. Every point of contact, reinforce that ROI.
Is ROI only money or could it be time saving?
Great question. Absolutely. So in some cases, if you're a healer or a soulpreneur, the ROI is not tangible in terms of dollars and cents. The ROI is the vision of the future person you want to be, and without the pains and challenges that brought you to the call in the first place. So it's both.
Okay, wonderful. And I mean, just everything. I mean, you could argue buy Natan's book because your whole mindset's going to be shifted. You're going to learn how to better understand energy, which will change every category of your life. I can't put a monetary number on that, but heck, everybody buying Natan Verkovsky's book. Show us your book, Natan.
You get to pick your choice of books. We have multiple option choices available to you. The same way that when you get to come to work with us, if you wanted to be a student at the Essential Academy, it is a very exclusive group of people offering a very exclusive group of courses that you can't find anywhere else. So we invite you to take a look around and peruse if it resonates with you, if it makes sense. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. Well, this show exemplifies why collaboration is such a beautiful thing, because I would have never had the honor of meeting you, Jay, if it wasn't for my friendship with Natan. And you truly are a gift, and congratulations on your success. And thank you for opening up about your story, sharing your wisdom. I know that we could probably talk for hours about strategy. But everybody out there, we will put Jay's contact websites on the scroller. You can reach him at theprofitarchitects.com. You can also explore his program, skipthemarketing.com, or check out his withglow.com. So there's 3 opportunities for you to learn more, dig a little bit deeper about Jay, and find out maybe his net 100K profit program could be another 2022 strategy for you to get the profit where it needs to be. So Jay, one last question and then we're going to wrap. What is your number 1 law of empowering entrepreneurs?
Well, I'd say never give up. As I mentioned, I've failed many times. Part of my story, as Natan knows, is that after the 2010 financial crisis, I lost everything. I quite literally, not an exaggeration, went from multimillionaire living in a mansion to living in a friend's basement, not even owning a car. So clearly I'm not a very good investor, but you've just gotta pick yourself back up and find your why and go out there and keep getting back up.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for inspiring us and sharing your story. That's really inspiring, because just remember, it's not always going to be sunshine and cloud and blue skies every day, but just keep going. Just keep going and give yourself a break. Don't be too hard on yourself.
Yes.
If you're having a bad day, all right, take the day off. It's okay. The world won't end if
You're an entrepreneur. You allowed yourself to do this in the first place. Enjoy some first.
And Tom, what's your number one law today?
My 80% is someone else's 100%.
Oh, all right. Well, I want to thank everybody out there for watching The Laws of Empowering Entrepreneurs. Please share this video with your friends. I know this could benefit hundreds of entrepreneurs worldwide.
Wrapping up the season, baby. This is exciting.
I'm telling you. So everybody share, and stay empowered and stay positive, and vice versa. Thanks for watching and always cheering us on. Until next time, see you later.
Bye, everyone.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings. But now I shine with your reflection on me. I'm getting back up on my feet. That you